It is that time of the month on the country. We tell you how much your farm is worth. And I can tell you this for nothing. It's worth more than it was this time a month ago. To fill in the missing pieces, the GM of PGG Rights and Real Estate, Peter Newbold. And Peter, the old real estate market, the rural one, is running hot.
Yeah, look, Jamie, it hasn't been so good, and the signals for, this quarter are really strong. We've got more listings than we've ever had, and I'd put quality to that. And the other key piece is there's a lot of inquiry out there. And so you look at both sides of it. The other interesting piece is that, we know there's strong demand in the sheep and beef, but probably the first time in I don't know how many years now, we've seen real interest in dairy, and we're starting to sell them, not in that sub 5, but, over 5. And I think this year we'll see a large number of transactions in the 15 plus in dairy and sheep and beef. So looking really good for all New Zealand.
It's an interesting dynamic, that, because dairy has been very unfashionable for the last, 4 or 5 years. People haven't wanted to touch it with the barge pole. People are now looking at the return. Milk futures at over $8, not a bad business to be in, providing you can find someone to work on your farm.
Yeah, probably the last comment you made is the biggest challenge for them is, people wanting to work. And we've often said before, it's a wonderful place to work, the rural environment. But, yeah, look, I think the dairy thing, people have got their head around all the environmental things to an extent. And, people, as you said, are seeing the returns, and so there's a lot of interest. And so, and I guess the other thing too, if you look back, there hasn't been a lot of activity over the last 3 or 4 years. So, that probably adds to it as well. But it's looking really strong, and there's a lot of interest.
How much is the sheep and beef market being driven by forestry, and worse? And I shouldn't say there's nothing wrong with forestry. I don't mind planting a tree and growing it and selling it. I'm a bit concerned about the carbon farmers taking over some of our good pastoral land in this country.
Yeah, look, I think it is a bit of a worry when you look out long term, when you look at some of the, wonderful land that's being sold and, is then being locked up forever. And I think there's bigger implications there when you look out over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and the impact it will have on rural communities and our traditional pastoral farming, which, whether we like it or not, is a critical part of New Zealand's economy. So, yeah, it's like a lot of things. Maybe it's gone too far, but that's only my personal opinion.
Dairy's strong, sheep and beef strong. We know that there's a lot of demand for horticulture, but it's a very tightly held market. It's like having a dairy farm in the Tatua dress circle. Has my old mate up in Tauranga, Stan Robb, got any listings?
Yeah, well, actually, I think this year it'll be a bit better than last. We're seeing now, at the moment, they're in that sort of off-season, and they're about to come onto the market now. So we will see more than the previous year, but we're not going to see the peaks we had a couple of years ago. And the other thing too is, wanting to get into it, the values per hectare or canopy hectare are ever increasing. But I think we'll see more activity, and that's what they tell me on the ground. So yeah, I think we'll see more of it, but it won't be to the levels we had, a number of years ago. And I guess some would say, why would you sell at the moment anyway when you're still getting good returns?
Yeah, ever increasing. I think I would use eye-watering. What about the lifestyle market? We know COVID. I mean, if you're stuck in Auckland now, you must be thinking, do I really want to stay here, or do I want to live in a lifestyle block out of the city and commute in?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I know properties we've been transacting recently, and the majority of the buyers, so this is like, say, in a provincial, have been from the cities, the large metropolitans. So I think that's going to continue. And, at the moment, there's a shortage of lifestyle listings, so that's maintaining price. And one of the things that is noticeable is, a number of properties are transacting before, let's say the auction's coming up, it's brought forward, or there's a deadline sale. They're moving at pace. So, look, there's a lot of demand, and, my feeling is that, people in the city, and you're seeing it all, think, there's better options in some of those provincial towns, which might only be an hour's drive from the main city. So, I think it's going to be really strong as long as we've got enough listings to meet the demand.
That's always the challenge in real estate. Peter Newbold, GM of Real Estate for PGG Wrightson, and look forward to our chat next month and no doubt onwards and upwards for the rural real estate market. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Have a good afternoon.